Welcome to another installment of Test Chamber. I'm Matt Miller. I am joined by Suriel Vazquez.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. I've been playing a lot of Pac-Man Championship Edition 2.
Oh, man. I played so much of the original Championship Edition. It's one of my favorite arcade-style games that was on Xbox Live back in the day, and I am super stoked that they did a sequel here. What do you think of it so far?
I like it a lot. Did you play much of Championship Edition DX?
I did. I played that as well. I think both of those games are really underrated.
Yeah.
More people need to play those great games.
They definitely do.
I am hoping that 2 does an appropriate service to what has been a really awesome arcade genre franchise.
Right. It does. I definitely think... So going into this, I was kind of curious as to what they were going to do, because DX seemed like one of those titles where you're like, okay, this seems like, how are they going to make it better? And I, for the most part, I think they do a pretty good job. So if you know what DX is, it's basically like really, really fast Pac-Man at some point.
Yeah.
But this changes a few things. So after playing a lot of this, I was thinking like, okay, this seems like a very balanced version. It seems like DX was kind of like maybe a little too easy, and this does a lot to say, let's make it a little bit harder. Let's sort of make people earn a lot of that stuff from DX a lot more.
So are you checking out, are we in like the standard score attack
this
mode
is the standard score attack mode. As you can see, you can choose sort of which maze you want for in terms of like the style, the background.
Let's see just the standard auto settings. Let's see. I want to, before we go into any more complicated stuff, let me just show me some of the basics here.
So this is all auto.
Okay.
So the basic premise of the championship series is that they kind of want to make this little... They're trying to make Pac-Man a little faster. So as you can see here, the meter is filling up, and then you can get the fruit. Once the meter fills up, you can get that fruit. And one of the big changes from DX is that the bombs work differently. In DX, they gave you these little bombs that you could use to kick all the ghosts away from you. But this time... it immediately flies you back to the center.
Okay.
And puts you right next to the fruit. So if you want, as soon as the fruit becomes available, you can just get it. The other thing is that you just saw there, I can hit the ghost twice.
Okay.
Without it really harming me, and then they turn angry. So like right here, you see that angry ghost. If that touches me, I'll die. And then the other thing you might notice is that these little green ghosts are sort of launching themselves over to that big ghost there, and now there's this enormous train here, and so now they're on these little rails. So in DX, they kind of just followed you, so you would just turn around and just eat a whole bunch of ghosts. But in this one, you kind of actually have to go
that's a cool kind of crazy perspective.
And every time they do that, there's a little cutscene, and then once you eat the last one, it does this thing where Pac-Man just flies off the level.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of other minor changes, like in DX there was the slow-mo that happened every time you got close to a ghost that was going to kill you. So because the ghosts are a little more lenient in this one, they don't do that. Instead, you can just break whenever you want.
Is that literally just you stopping moving the stick?
No, this is pressing the X button. If you don't do anything, you'll just move.
Sure, that's the way it's always kind of been.
Yeah. So this is just...
Well, that's interesting, because there's lots of times that back in the day, you'd need to kind of stop, and what you do is you just kind of like rapidly move the joystick back and forth.
That's exactly what I did.
Place.
That's exactly what I did early on when I was playing this, and then I realized, oh right, you can stop. So the basic structure of it is very similar to DX in that, as you can see, I have a timer there, and I basically have 5 minutes to score as many points as I can. And I'm not sure what the best approach is right now. I've been playing a lot of it, and I'm still not sure if you want to get all the dots, because whenever you... So right there, you see that I'm getting 500 points per dot here. And let me just run through this maze here. Like, this is still, like, I've been playing it for about 10 hours, and I still have not tired of this.
Yeah.
The way the little, like, it's just isometric, and yeah, it's very much a sights and sounds kind of game. And it's
looking like it's making you have to hit the lead ghost.
Yes, in DX you can hit any ghost and you can just eat them.
Yeah.
Here you have to start with the lead ghost.
Interesting. So you have to kind of come at them from the right angle.
Right. And then a lot of the times once you get down to the last ghost, they're about as fast as you are, so you have to outmaneuver them. which is a pretty cool change from DX, because like in DX it seemed a little bit easy once you had the power pellet to do whatever you want. So if you notice right there, I'm getting 500 per point. So if I don't get every dot on the level, I drop down.
Okay.
And so if I'm not sure if getting to the ghosts faster, so like right here, I'm not getting a pellet, but if I fly back over here, I can move on to the next stage a little more quickly. And you're going to get most of your points from eating those huge, trains of ghosts. So I haven't done enough practice runs to decide whether or not I want to go for every dot on the stage.
Right.
And that's kind of cool because like when you're watching this game, it kind of feels like, oh, there's just like the one path, right? There's not much to it. But the more I play this game, the more I find these little nuances as to how to play, and eventually, the more you play, the faster it gets.
Yeah.
So
this game, the Pac-Man Championship Edition games in general, up to this point, and this few minutes I'm seeing of this seems to hold this out to be true, have always had this quality where at some point you cross the threshold from like almost conscious thought to this very kind of zen flow state.
Yeah.
Of moving without really even recognizing that what you're doing. You just get so much into the pattern recognition, and the speed and the flow that it becomes a reflex situation.
Right. And it's fun to approach that stage. And one thing I failed to comment on was that there are pellets that will move away from you, and fruits as well. So there's that whole mechanic of trying to figure out the best path. And there's also, as you can see, these little jump pads.
Yeah, I like the jump pads. I like the new sort of visual style for evolving mazes, right? As the maze gets more complex,
right?
The way that you're almost sort of like warping into this new place,
right? And they have like all the same stat tracking to see where, like how you did across the stage. And as you can see, you're getting most of your points from ghosts, so you can definitely make the assumption that you might want to just skip as many dots as possible to get the ghosts as fast as possible.
Right.
And yeah, like there's all these little, art style. You can choose these little different styles and you unlock them. Like there's one.
Yeah, let's take a look at a couple of the other styles and music and cameras and all that kind of good stuff.
So you have to unlock a lot of these.
Sure.
So as you can see, these are...
You're still kind of working on some of this stuff. Right?
This is a new save. So I think I have most of these on my...
On your main save.
Yeah, on my main save. And it tells you what you have to do to unlock them. But
that's cool.
There's more to this than that this time.
Okay.
So as you can see, like right here, you have 4 different kinds of challenges for each of the 10 levels. It doesn't have everything from DX, but it has most of it, and the levels are kind of different enough to where I wasn't really bothered by them, not having certain levels in there.
Okay.
So there's the single ghost, as you can see from the game I just played. In single ghost, there's basically only one ghost in the entire area that will really threaten you, and so because it's only one train, it's a lot easier to find it and kill it. In regular, there's multiple ghosts that are turned into trains, and in this one there's a lot. It's basically a lot harder, so ghosts become angry after one touch and there aren't any lives. And then this one is just a practice mode. I think it gives you 10 minutes and you can just do whatever you want. It's just basically to play for fun, and I like this mode because if you have nephews or something that you want to have play the game, or if you want someone who's never played Pac-Man before to play the game, this is kind of like the mode that they can play and just have a ton of lives or whatever.
Yeah.
So as you play, you'll unlock more stages.
So you're unlocking stuff further to the right there.
Yeah. Basically. So basically, if I were to beat this one, I would unlock these two and these two.
That's interesting. It does give one of the things about previous versions of the game is that you were kind of playing the same course again and again and again. With very little sense, other than chasing score, that there was any advancement, right? So it's interesting to see them kind of explore that a little bit more, to add a little bit more variation, to add some more distinct goals.
So I think just visually it looks a lot more structured, because in DX, you just see a list of different modes you can play on the same level.
Yeah.
So here it more visually says, okay, here's what you need to work on, and here's how to get there. Well, the other thing it does is the adventure mode.
Yeah.
So here, if you remember a lot of the time trial stuff in DX where you had like a minute to get a certain number of fruits.
Okay.
So they basically turn that into like its own game where, as you can see, you have like different areas. And I think they take 2 stages and they give you 5 trials per. So I'll just jump into the first one. And depending on the difficulty, you'll get different number of stars. So there's practice, which is just won't give you any stars, normal, hard, and pro. So we're gonna I did the hard level in order to unlock more of the stages, but let's try the pro.
All right,
here.
good luck.
Yeah. So yeah, as you can see, you have very little time to do anything, and then you basically have to use bombs in order to just to get to the fruit in time. And this one gives you a little more time, but that's because you have to get the power pellet. And
so a lot of serious time pressure going on here.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it one more shot here.
Sure.
I should be able to. Hopefully, I can do it. If not, we'll move on anyway. It's a lot of very intense, time trials. And there's a ton of these. There's I want to say there's 10 per world, and there's 6 worlds. So there's about 60 of these little challenges, and they get harder. Eventually, some of the later challenges have you playing the basically the score mode.
Okay.
And they say you have to get like 3 million points in 5 minutes. So that's pretty fun. That happens later on though. But yeah, like that animation's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, let's see. 3 out of 6. And so yeah, the ghosts don't really bother you unless they do that. I'm trying to avoid him. I should be able to get this next fruit.
I had friends when I first got into the first game who would occasionally watch me play after I'd gotten, pretty decent at the game. And one of the fascinating phenomenon about this game is that like it becomes almost unintelligible to somebody who hasn't played a lot of it once you get to a certain level of expertise at it, because it's moving so fast and your movements are in some cases so inexplicable, and the choices that you're making about how you turn and when you do different things and when you go after the fruit and all that kind of stuff. And I think part of the appeal of there being a sequel here is rediscovering those nuances for yourself, because it's clear they've done enough here to change the dynamic that there's going to be a new sense of discovery there. But like, you were just talking about it earlier, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do I need to do to max out that score? And in this case, you're not only maxing out score, but you're trying to unlock subsequent levels and subsequent things to do. Which has me pretty stoked.
I think one of the things this game does best is that it just sort of puts that stuff in front of you a lot better than DX did, where it says, here's the next thing to go for. Here's another thing to try out. And so the last new thing in this version are the boss levels, which have you fighting these enormous Pac-Man ghosts.
Okay.
As you can see there, they're made up of a bunch of different ghosts, and it's just this big angry one. They don't show up in the level itself, but they're kind of, watching you.
Yeah, sure.
Orwell style, or very Orwellian vision of Pac-Man. So every time you get enough pellets,
I like the idea of Orwellian Pac-Man. By the way.
So every time you get enough pellets to get the fruit out, he'll bump the level and turn all the ghosts angry, which basically turns it into regular Pac-Man.
Right.
But faster. So as you can see, once I get here, they also, as you can see, every time it does that, it'll drop 2 lives.
Okay.
That is what distinguishes the different difficulties. So if you manage to get every single life as well, it'll give you a higher score, or it'll give you more stars.
Okay.
I think up to 6 for these boss levels. And they kind of accelerate here. As you can see, every level is taking slightly less fruit to complete, and I died there. But you have plenty of lives, but that does detract from the number of stars you're going to get.
Yeah, and man, these games have always capitalized on visual distraction as an actual sort of like difficulty tool. Yeah, and man, this is like really over the top with that. You've got this ghost, this kind of colored movement right in the center of your field of vision that's working to distract you from what's going on.
Right.
That makes it tricky.
Yeah, it's you definitely get used to it. Like right now, like that is a little more muted. It feels a little more muted to me, but I can definitely see, taking a step back. knowing that like this is kind of indiscernible if you don't know what you're watching.
Yeah.
So right here, this is the last one, and then basically the best thing happens where Pac-Man turns into
a super Pac-Man.
No, better, a fleet of Pac-Man.
A fleet of Pac-Man.
Yeah, and they just go to town on these ghosts, and it's it's kind of messed up because like you don't know what those ghosts did.
Yeah.
They're maybe not doing this voluntarily.
You're gonna murder some ghosts.
And then yeah. So
that's pretty great.
Yeah. I didn't get all the stars, but I got 4 out of them.
Well done. Well done. You're making some progress.
Yeah. So there's a whole campaign for this. I want to say there's 6 worlds. The one bummer about that is that if you want to unlock the last level, you have to get all the stars basically.
Oh, brutal.
And yeah, that can turn into a real challenge.
Yeah, I can't say I'm a huge fan of star unlock processes like
it's
that.
Not good.
There's rarely the game that I find that like where it keeps me away from content that I want to try out.
Yeah.
Just in the name of like I need to be perfect at everything else first. Yeah. I don't know. There's not too many. I know that's really popular in the arcade genre as a concept.
Right. To get people to play more.
To get people to play more. And I get the drive to, you want to push for high score and all that kind of stuff. But when you're talking about actually unlocking an event or course or a boss or something like that, I'd rather just be able to have there be like a lower threshold for being able to at least see the content.
So the good thing about that is that I didn't really have a problem unlocking stuff because the requirements are lower than that. So like it's just that one level that requires you to do everything. But you also have to unlock stuff here, but that seems a little more natural. It's just because like if you go through every level in order, you'll basically unlock most of it. It's not that bad. But yeah, that's pretty much everything unless you guys want to see the options. This looks awesome. I'm really stoked to try it out. So what platforms am I looking at here? It is available on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. And I will say one thing to mention is that on the PC, I've been having trouble with the Xbox One controller where whenever I connect it, it'll just like do this constantly.
Oh, weird.
So, it basically won't let me play. But I was playing on a keyboard. I mapped those key functions to an arcade stick and was able to play pretty well. And I'm using a 360 controller now, and that has worked perfectly. But modern controllers don't seem to work as well. Hopefully they patch that because it's been getting some bad reviews on Steam just on that alone, and people have been having some technical issues, things like that.
So if you have the choice right out the gate, you might want to consider one of the consoles.
Yeah.
We haven't had until we know for sure.
Yeah, we haven't had time to test them, but I imagine the controllers work on the console.
We sure would hope so.
So yeah, like that one issue aside, I am loving this. This is such a good game. I hope more people check it out because, as you said, this is a very underrated series.
I hope so, too. I think a lot of people are scared away, or maybe not scared away. They're just they're so used to thinking of Pac-Man as this antiquated gameplay.
Yeah.
And have just never tried any of these newer ones to recognize how much fun and how fast and how intriguing the new gameplay mechanics are. Maybe this will be the one. Maybe this one will push through and we'll get some more folks in the door to check it out. I sure hope so.
Yeah, I definitely do too. And I might just put another level.
Well, awesome. Well, as you continue to push for your high score, we'll thank everybody for watching, and we will see you next time on Test Chamber.
See ya.